Hello and welcome back to the Ospreys Eyrie pod, the podcast that is not doing a artsy intro like Robbie did last week because I'm too tired to think of something. I am back. It is me. It is James. I am back from having a baby and doing all of that stuff. Back to where I belong. Joined this week by Yestin. Robbie's done a Luke Morgan and got a yellow card. So just Yestin this week. Yestin, how are we?
Right, is it a Luke Morgan or a Max Nagy nowadays? Or a Vardy Bosch
Yeah,
for the weekend?
or
There's
an
a couple
Avadi
of
Bosch
contenders.
off, yeah.
But yeah, I'm all okay. Just merely surviving for the next couple of days, and then after Friday I should be all good again. But
Is that
yeah,
when you finish uni?
yeah, I'll be all done by about 12:30 on Friday afternoon for the second year. So
I'm expecting at least an article a day after you finish.
might get something early next week. Might get something some point this week as well. Depends how it goes.
Does that mean you'll definitely go into the game on Saturday?
Yeah, potentially, hopefully to go down there in some form.
I'm gutted. I don't think I can go down to this one, but I may be trying to have some plans to go to Judgment Day.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know what's happening with Judgment Day yet. Just want to survive this week.
yeah, same to be fair. I'm on half term during Judgment Day with work, so Judgment Day that is the last Saturday before I go back in. So I could potentially do it. Who knows? I don't like Judgment Day because we rarely beat Cardiff.
Yeah, it reminds me of the stat from like 2017 where the Ospreys hadn't like lost a game in the Principality Stadium. Then then within 3 weeks of April they'd lost there twice. And one of them was to Cardiff in Judgment Day.
I
And they
was
were
there last year and it was horrific because we just clearly not to say we didn't care, but it was big end of season vibes.
well, the end of season five was at the Edinburgh game where I was the week before. That was
And Cardiff just trying too hard as they're prone to do. Yeah, they just really wanted to qualify for the Champions Cup, and look what that got them.
yeah. A part of me wants the Ospreys to finish eighth, but Sharks to win the Challenge Cup, so we can just have another year in the Challenge Cup to see what happens.
Oh, right. So, with maybe in back, let's go into the news. So, quite a bit of news this week. Let's start with some re-signings. So, we have Ospreys have announced the re-signing of two players this week, one being Wales under-20s centre and Swansea RFC centre, Tom Florence. The highly rated centre spent much of 2023-2024 on the shelf with an ACL injury, but is back fit, but is yet to feature in a competitive match for the Ospreys this year. Has been on the bench once. Happy with that, yesterday?
Yes, it's good, more good news to see young players, staying put, I suppose. And I think there's a bit of potential there with Florence. I remember the Sharks game in the URC last season out in South Africa, and he came in last minute for Mike Collins, I think. And he looked rather settled and he played rather well for someone that got drafted in about 10 minutes before kickoff. So yeah, obviously got rather unfortunate with injuries this year. Um, but from what I've heard and seen, he's been doing rather well when he's played in the Welsh Premiership. So it'd be interesting to see if he does make that step up.
I think he's a fine player. I actually quite rate him. I liked him at under 20s level. Good for Swansea University. I haven't watched him much at Swansea RFC level, but I've heard good things. So yeah, I'm excited about that. The next piece of re-signing news is Cam Jones. No, not that one. Cameron Jones, the prop, has re-signed with the Ospreys, the young 420s prop, who's currently out on loan with the Cheetahs, has made one appearance in the Cheetahs. Out in Bloemfontein, he is re-signed with the Ospreys. quite happy with that. It just adds a bit of depth at loose head. He's not going to be first choice anytime soon unless something, a la Ryan Bevington, Nicky Smith happens, like when it was in about 2013 when Nicky made his debut because everyone else was injured. Of course, Cameron Jones, famous for his break against the Lions out in Johannesburg, was set to try for his namesake, but getting some much needed game time and training in different environments in Bloemfontein. Happy with that?
Yeah, it's more good news, and going out to South Africa, especially for a young prop, you should hope that he learns quite a lot. And well, the last time I saw him play, he scored a brace against Pontypridd and got yellow carded in about one half, I think, or he might have picked up his second at the start of the second half. And yeah, seems like an exciting player. Obviously, when he made that step up in Johannesburg, he looked rather solid and obviously played a big role in one of the decisive tries near the end of the game. So yeah, it'd be good to see how much he's developed by the time he does come back from Bloemfontein, and to see where he is in that pecking order, I suppose, for next season.
But as the Cam Jones giveth, the Cam Jones taketh away. The Ospreys have announced their leavers list for the year. They're still technically waiting on the leavers list from 2022, 2023. But instead, we've got 2023, 2024. So the leavers list for the Ospreys this year is Alex Cuthbert, Ospreys number 263. Toby Fricker, Ospreys number 282. Will Hickey, number 265. Cam Jones, scrum half, 290. George North, 232. Matt Prothero, 250. And Nicky Smith, 152. So obviously a few of them we knew about already, mainly being Nicky Smith, who's off to Leicester, and George North, who's off to Provence. We'd heard rumours around Toby Fricker with his injury crisis and sort of been injured most of the season, that his contract was not going to be renewed. The rest, however, Cuthbert, Prothero, and Prothero and Cam Jones, we didn't know about. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a really cruel way for Alex Cuthbert to bow out, especially after what happened against Munster in March. If that is his last touch for the Ospreys, then that's just
Tough,
a blow for everyone involved, I think. And you had a couple of rumours, after that game that could have been his last. He could find a club and play somewhere next season, but yeah, it seems like it was one that you kind of thought, he hasn't played much. When he has played, he's been very well. I've been a big fan of Cuthbert for quite some time, and it's been a real good addition when he's played. That's kind of been the issue when injuries kind of crept up on him. Last year when Wales went up to Scotland, he was in some good form at that period. Then obviously got injured out with Murrayfield, and then we hadn't seen him for a long period of time. And then obviously the cruel way that rugby is against Munster when his hamstring goes pop is just really unfortunate for him, and it's probably really unfortunate for the Ospreys as well. Because if a fully fit Alex Cuthbert was around more of the time, it would be a much better Ospreys side, and we got all we can do is wish him all the best, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely, and had a really slow start to life in the Ospreys. Didn't score a try for ages. I remember particularly that end of season game against the Scarlets. Reece Webb makes that break, and dummies instead of gives it to him. Eventually, we do score, but he should have given it to Cuthbert. But then he did get his brace against Montpellier and things like that. And I like Alex Cuthbert. I really wish we saw more of him. So yeah, and then Matt Prothero signed with high hopes, definitely. Played 10 in his first game against the Scarlets in the pre-season game. Had that amazing game up in Edinburgh in in that first game for Toby Booth. That try against Zebra this season. There's a player in there. It just hasn't worked out for him. I think pecking order, injuries, things like that. Maybe some question marks over his defence, but yeah, it just hasn't worked out for him, and I am gutted for him because he's a kid who played for his boyhood club.
Yeah, and what more do you want as a youngster growing up to be playing for the team or club that you grew up and watch? And I found the day that the Prothero signed, I believe it was the day after the Ospreys announced Toby Booth as the head coach, and then the day after Prothero signed, and he said something along the lines of the likes of Jerry Collins, Tia, just to name a few, had played for the club when he'd watched them as a youngster. So it's obviously really tough to see it maybe not work out, but I think at times Prothero has been a real spark to an Ospreys side, which many have said that don't do much attack in rugby, and I think this season kind of proved a few people wrong. But yeah, even up in Edinburgh earlier on, this season, a couple of games ago, he makes a break out of nothing, and nearly creates a chance for the Ospreys to pinch the game up there. And when you look at all those individual moments, I mentioned before recording that home game against Sale in the Champions Cup from 2021, I think, and Prothero was hands down probably the only spark on the pitch after Sale scored their 3 quick tries in about quarter of an hour. And just everything else just went through Prothero. So it's a real shame. Injuries obviously played a bit of involvement in it, but yeah, bit of a shame to lose someone that's got that spark. But sadly, like you said, it hasn't really worked out.
Cam Jones, again, I think the writing was on the wall for Cam Jones. He looked good when he came on, looked hungry, very quick player. We'll always have that try against the Lions and that break against Munster to set about his hamstring tear. But I think with Hardy coming in and 2 good scrum halves there, I think it was always going to be an uphill battle for him. And with squad sizes being depleted, 3 to 4 scrum halves in a squad probably just isn't viable anymore.
Yeah, and the budget cuts as well is probably
exactly.
Probably see the reason why they've had to let someone like Cam Jones, someone like Prothero go as well.
So yeah, it's tough on everyone. We've covered North and Mickey in detail. Will Hickey, I think everyone had high hopes for, was brought in with a lot of fanfare behind him. Sort of being a very successful Leinster schoolboy. Mike Ruddock talked him up a lot. Just suffered too much of an injury. I think that time when Bloemfontein were doing well, and I hope he gets a club because he is. I think there's a fine player in there somewhere, and I hope Toby Fricker goes somewhere. I hope he goes to the MLR and then plays for the US and is just mental. I think that would be fantastic. So that is the leavers list. I suppose the other bit of news we have to talk about, and I'm going to talk about in brief tones, is Neath RFC put out a statement again. Clearly not content with their million Twitter impressions the last month. They needed some more. So for those who don't know, this is verbatim. I've not changed any text here. Neath put out a statement saying, "After our amazing end of season party, we are looking to make further improvements to our grounds and facilities. Our gym, recovery centre and change rooms have been updated. Ospreys won't be playing at our ground next season or thereafter. This was after representatives from both clubs have met. We wish Swansea and Bridgend all the best in securing that contract when Ospreys CEO Lance Bradley makes his long-anticipated announcement. Instead, we will focus on growing Neath RFC and the Panthers as our illustrious clubs hosting Elite Sevens tournaments and other prestigious rugby events. as well as music and food festivals, family events such as Christmas lights switch on, and Neath fireworks to contribute to the success of Neath RFC and enliven our town. It really is all happening at Neath RFC. No, the statement itself is nothing too, it's a bit sarcastic, it's a bit tongue-in-cheek. There's nothing, not as bad as the other ones, but they did. What is more pressing is they've put in the corner Ospreys badge that they have crossed out, a bit like a serial killer does on like someone's photos. Look, there has been a well-documented history of friction between past Ospreys and Neath management, especially when Neath were going through financial troubles and Neath had been underperforming, this season especially, and that has led to maybe friction within the two clubs, and none of us, as much as people try to claim to be insiders, and neither of us claim to be insiders at all, we are not privy to what goes on behind closed doors and conversations within the Ospreys. What is clear to see is that Neath have chosen to partake in a narrative and sticking with it, that Neath are in a great place, that they do not need the EDC and they do not need the Ospreys and are very self-sustainable. I don't believe that the statement that and the statements before that have come across as anti-WIU and anti-Ospreys are representative of the whole of Neath and their supporters. There are plenty of Neath fans who want the Ospreys to do well and welcome the Ospreys' involvement. There are a minority that don't. We at the Ospreys Eyrie, as much as we like to make funny memes and post funny photos, I wish Neath all the best. They are a historic club. I know people who are playing for Neath now. I know people who played for Neath in the past. I follow Neath Athletic very closely. They're sort of smaller feeder club, if you want to say. And without Neath, there would be no Ospreys. There would be no Shane Williams. There would be no Paul James, Duncan Jones, things like that. So the history of Neath as a club cannot be disputed. It's very hard to keep being positive, but Neath, when representatives are making it very difficult. So I think, to be as diplomatic as I can, we wish Neath all the best in the Premiership next season. I hope they have a better time than they did this year. Is it Tim Ryan coaching them next year?
Oh, I don't know. I know Ryan Evans, their captain, hasn't been bumped up to assistant coach, I think, but I can't remember who's.
I don't know why I got Tim Ryan in my head. Obviously, brother of Cardiff murderer John Ryan.
But all I can say is I'm really looking forward to the trip to the Knoll next season. It's going to be a good day out.
Well, it just won't be to watch the Ospreys. So
yeah, well, you've got Neath against Ponty. What more do you want? Battles on and off the field, I say.
Oh God, that would be. God, I've ever wanted to go to talk to people at a game less. Who's played for both Neath and Ponty that I can think of? What derby would that be? Yeah, plays with Neath and Ponty that I can think of.
The social media derby, I suppose. Yeah. The way it all goes.
Doing cameos.
I don't know.
Is there anything in the budget for cameos? Yes, there no.
Probably not. Probably not. I don't think so.
I think that's the news. Shall we talk about some rumours?
Oh, here we go. Oh, yes.
So I put this forward to you last night. In that, it's obvious we need a winger at least. Right, I need at least one winger. Currently, we've only got Luke Morgan and Keelan Giles and Harry Houston, which is not enough, if I'm honest. Yesterday Hopkins can play wing, but he's a fullback. So I was sent a rumour that we have apparently signed a player from Nottingham University who played in the Bucks Super Rugby. Now, I did some digging into this, and I have identified a player who I think it could be. Again, this is just a rumor. There is no validity to this, as far as I know. It could be utter horseshit. The player in question is a guy Connor Moyes, who is a winger. I think can play fullback as well. Does look a bit 13E. He has a strike rate of about 25 tries in 50 games in a struggling Nottingham side, which is very, very good. He's a big lad, breaks tackles well, and has good defence. He seems a very Toby Booth sign. If it is him, he has played most recently for the England University side against France, where they narrowly lost 48-46 or something like that, which is a very good standard in rugby. There's been some great players who've played in that team over the years. If that is true, then that's a very good signing, or could be a very good signing. Obviously, it could be crap, right? But university teams are getting better and better. The standard is better. Their S&C is great, so could be great. The other one is that we are maybe signing Daniel Cassetti, just in case we need to fight some Scarlets players next year. Because he wants it. He just wants it. I've never met a player who wanted it more. I will never forget the disallowed try in the last minute of that game. And instead of going to see if the try was scored, he just went and squared up to Joe Roberts, my hero. Yestin, thoughts on any of the back three players that you think we could sign?
That's quite a tough question when you are thinking of all the budgets and things. Because there's a lot of back three players out there that you kind of really want. If Caleb Clark wanted to join the Ospreys, for example, feel free. If Willie Relu wants a year at fullback, he can come along as well. But that's obviously not going to fit in the budget. But it's kind of tough for them, isn't it? Because you kind of got the likes of Giles and Morgan, Houston, who can all play wing. Then you've got Desson Hopkins and Nagy, who can play wing, but you kind of see them more as fullbacks. So maybe it could be a really good opportunity for someone from the university level to step up, which, as you mentioned, it could be someone like Connor Moyes. But I think Kasende, it's one of those, you've watched him on his debut. It's all well and good. He played rather well. But what's he like over a period of games? We don't know. And that Scarlet side, let's not beat around the bush. That Scarlet side wasn't very brilliant that Sunday afternoon. But in fairness to Kasende, he stepped up and played well, and it looked like he really did care, which is a positive. But it depends what he's like after 2 games, after 3 games, the consecutive run of games to see what he's kind of like. So yeah, it'd be nice to see him back, I suppose. It wouldn't be one of those in the pub quiz that you see 20 years time of a winger from the Cheetahs that played once for the Ospreys. Could you name who he is?
Twice.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
Bench against the Dragons, but we don't talk about that game.
Well, one start for the Ospreys, and if you want to word it a bit better, but yeah, so if he did come and stayed a little bit longer, it kind of removes the pub quiz then because he'd play more games.
Yeah, Sam Lana did a very good thread for us about wingers that would be great for the Ospreys, and then Cardiff went and signed one of them, the bastards. They went and signed Ewan Stevens from Newcastle, son of Colin Stevens, former Cletley flyer. So yeah, we're stalling for time here because we don't want to talk about the game, and actually we won't talk much about it at all. I have been messaged by Robbie to say that Scarlets were an answer on Pointless tonight, and was the pointless answer.
Apparently, I just read something on Twitter. It's about the most popular rugby side, or something along those lines. I don't know what the question is full is because I didn't watch
rugby union teams, and they have to fill in the blanks.
Oh,
so the teams were Saracens, Glasgow Warriors, Munster, Scarlets, and Northampton Saints. So Saracens got 32, which is fair enough. They're a London team, quite big. Glasgow got 12. You could probably do that out of context of the letters they're giving you. Munster 16, Northampton 10, and Scarlet 0. I have nothing else to add.
There's a very unfunny joke to be put in there, isn't there? Well, some might find it funny, but I'm sure some won't. And if I said that, I'd probably end all future career aspects and hopes that I'd have.
Yeah, so, shall we talk about the game?
Oh, we may as well. There's a little bit to talk about, I suppose.
Yeah, right. So let's talk. The first half was great.
Yeah, it was okay.
I think from a competitive standpoint, it was great.
I've seen a lot worse 40 minutes by the Ospreys in previous times.
Yeah, we looked competitive, probably a bit rusty to begin with. You know, going 14-0 down, but then having the tenacity to come back. You know, with two good attacking opportunities that we converted. Yeah, you could probably say we got lucky with the Luke Morgan one, but I believe we had a penalty anyway.
Yeah, we did. I think there was some advantage.
Yeah, so I think there was enough to build on from that first half and to be happy about. I thought in that first half, Morris carried well. Ruben controlled the game. Dan Edwards was really good in that first half in particular. Nagy was good, maybe not on the turn. Still, maybe probably looked a bit slow on the turn there. Brian Habana will be livid. Yeah. And then the second half happened. But as I tweeted, right, I will say this again, I will say this with my chest. We just got Leinster, right? Leinster, no matter what team they're playing, will smother you and then kill you in transition. That's what they do. That's what they're really, really good at. And we just got Leinster. And it really helps when you're able to bring on Jack Conan, Charlie Natai, Dan Sheehan, James Gibson Park, right? To be able to bring them players on is a blessing, and more power to them that they're able to do that, right? As much as I lambast the Irish teams for maybe having better squads and more money, fantastic they're able to do that. And if we could do it, we absolutely would. Let's not beat around the bush. If we could go out and sign Jason Jenkins or John Bell or RG Snowden, right, we would. Let's not take the moral high ground and say we wouldn't. We absolutely would, but we can't. And we've just come off a South Africa tour where we conceded 60, and then we have 3 days of training, and then we're flying out to Leinster where we take 60 again. It's tough. We look tired. I've been saving this all season, but Scarlets fans were complaining at the start of the season they had to go up to face the Stormers and the Bulls and then face Leinster away, all in like a block of 3 weeks. Well, guess what, lads? We did the same. It's tough. We just look tired. I don't know what more is to say.
I think the only positive out of it from that block of games, probably the start of the season when you looked at it, nobody gave us much of a chance to be, well, one, where we are, and two, to get any sort of point out of it. And it's obviously rather demoralising when you've conceded 120 odd points in 2 matches, and it's the first time the Ospreys have conceded 60 points in a game, and then they do it twice in 2 weeks, which is rather unfortunate. But to come out of those 3 games, very tricky games, and to get 5 points out of, not many sides are doing that, let alone any of the Welsh sides with the budget restrictions, because any team will go out there to face the Stormers, a really angry Bulls side, and Leinster first. And it was probably rather pleasing to see all 3 of those sides put out their, well, arguably their strongest side possible. And you just got to live with it. That's the level that that you have to aim at to be a top side. And whilst looking at the result, you think, oh, there's a long way to go. But if you look at the first half against Leinster, for example, you kind of see the progression a little bit. Of course, it kind of stings a little bit after a few years ago where we went out there and won in Leinster, which was probably a bit of a shock result, but that wasn't Leinster first team. There was the Six Nations going on, and probably Leinster probably rested a few players that night. And the Leinster side that we saw last Saturday, it's very rare to see someone like Andrew Porter playing in the URC. It's very rare to see someone like Tag Burlon playing in the URC. Two very good props, despite my own opinions on Andrew Porter. But I'll probably leave that off the record. But
Yeah, absolutely.
but yeah, it's one of those. They had both O'Brien brothers back, and Jimmy looked rather sharp, and Jordan Lama looked rather good as well. And despite you could do anything to try and stop it, but 9 times out of 10, that Leinster side is just going to steamroll you over, and you're just going to be trying to cling on as much as you can. But it was also very good to see Jack Morgan back playing rugby again
Yes.
for the first time since December. It was also good to see Derry Lake play as his first start since Perpignan January. So yeah, little bit of green shoots, but obviously when you look at the result and how things kind of went as the second half went on, you kind of had a little bit of a sting, but there's 2 games left. There's still a glimmer of hope for top 8, as unlikely it is. But yeah, you just gotta. Two Booth probably said this some point: dust yourself off, lick your wounds, and go again. And
Yeah.
it needs to be a bit of a response because there's another Welsh derby coming up, and it's the last home game of the season. So it's certainly not a time to be all upset and negative about things. Top 8 is somehow still in reach, and if results go your way this week, they might go your way next week. And if you get 10 points out in the last 2 games, it's anyone's business.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Ospreys know that that's not their standard, right? The players know that's not a standard that they demand. And Cuthbert said this on the Sport in Wales podcast this week. I don't know if you've listened to it, have you?
No, I haven't.
It's not a bad listen. It's only 45 minutes. Cuthbert, Garrett Hardy, and they had Shane Williams on this week. And they were saying that he said that Mark Jones gave them a bit of a bollocking, which is absolutely fair because in professional sports, you cannot concede that many points 2 weeks in a row. And no Ospreys fan is excusing that. There's intentional reasons behind it, absolutely, but no Ospreys fans excusing 60 points. What we can control is our performance next week. The last couple of games at the Swords.com Stadium have been crackers. We had I'm going to talk about one of them, a good player, but the one we had a good one last year, Yeston Hopkins' first ever try, Jack Walsh being physically abused, and then the one before that was Morgan Morris hat-trick, if I remember rightly. If I remember rightly, Jack Morgan just kept turning balls over for fun that game. I don't really have anything more to say on that game.
Yeah, just Leinster are good, and if they don't,
Caelan Doris cheats at rucks a bit. That's it.
Well, yeah, don't know how much we can mention of that, but if Leinster or Bulls don't win the URC, then something's gone wrong. Let's be honest.
No, absolutely, yeah. Leinster, yeah. If Leinster don't, yeah, I'm in awe of how they play and how they're so efficient. If they don't win, if they don't do the double, I'll be very, very shocked.
Well, Anton Dupont might have a little say in that, I suppose. He is.
Leinster just look different. They look different gravy this year.
Yeah, and it looks like their first team are going to have match fitness behind them as well. So
yeah, James Ryan decided he wants it this weekend.
Well, shocked.
Yeah, against like the pity Pittons and Ulster. I
The
actually dread what they're going to do to Ulster on the weekend.
the Ulster who are in crisis season, but who are in URC playoffs. Like, wow, we're a crisis season.
Yeah. Oh,
But
look at
then,
us. We've signed Werner Koch. We're in a crisis.
yeah, but then there's other teams with crisis seasons who pick up 2 wins in an entire season.
Pathetic. Right. Super good player.
We may as well. I've just remembered who's on the bench for this game as well, which
Well,
is
I've chosen two.
oh
So we're going to cover two games today. So originally, Dragons Lair podcast tweeted in the week to say the last time. So the last time Dragons won at the Ospreys was when Dave Flanagan was at 10 for the Ospreys. Which was a long time ago. So let's have a look at let's have a look at Dan Evans scoring 4 tries against the Dragons. Now, do you remember what the score was of this game?
there was a couple of tries in this. Because the Dragons scored. Well, the Ospreys scored first, and the Dragons scored 2 tries out of nothing.
They did.
And then Dan Evans happens. And is it something like 29-17 or something like that?
29-20.
Oh, wasn't that far off.
So in a game with 4 tries scored by one person, you expect a bit more points, but we kept it tight. So, as I've alluded to, this game is when Dan Evans decided to score 4 tries in the game. But I think we should go through the teams first. Do you want home or away first?
Away first.
Away first. So, loose head was Brock Harris.
Yeah, good player. I'm still going.
Good player, yeah. 39. Another 1-year deal.
Yeah, he's just good.
Yeah. Hooker, Richard Hibbard. Remember him?
Yeah, solid. Rumored to be very good at rugby league as well, but I don't know.
He played for Aberafan Fighting Irish. Back in the day, and Hitchin Ribbard or something like that. Very nice man. Actually, really, really nice man. When I've met him, was very involved with Aberafan Quins and Aberafan Green Stars. Really involved with rugby in the area. Obviously, came to Type Bar. It's just loves Patal, but I'm really happy that he went away and made money playing at Gloucester, made good money. Always, it always shocks me how old not old, but how much older he is than I remember him as being. So good player. Leon Brown at 3.
Yeah, this was just before he was carving up angles from nowhere and scoring tries against the Ospreys.
Yeah, oh my God, that
was
game
just
away.
that
I'm
period.
glad we're not talking about that game.
There was a period with the COVID pandemic in the middle where he just scored tries against the Ospreys. But yeah, okay. Got very unfortunate with injuries, didn't he?
Yeah. Looks like he's staying at the Dragons, which is a gamble. It's a gamble. I won't lie. But we'll see. We will see. Max Williams at 4.
I remember everyone was trying to hype.
What a shame about Max Williams.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about him at the time, and
I really liked him.
Yeah,
I really liked him.
He looked quite tidy every time we saw him play, but everyone was keeping
matches the Dragons. Yeah.
So to fill in the time of technical issues, um, here I am, I suppose. This might get cut out in the podcast, I hope. So leave if you're watching this. Shush.
Hello, I'm back. Right, sorry.
He's returned. I tried to fill it for a couple of seconds, but yeah.
Sorry. We'll just edit it out.
I'm sure that if that's not edited out, then I'll leave all podcasts with immediate effect.
So we got to Max Williams. It just took Max Williams a second. So at 4, Max Williams, good player. Obviously, really hampered with injuries. A lot of hype around him when he first came through. Big lad. Was he about 6'8" or something like that? No, he's only 6'6", but
yeah, there's a lot of talk
17
about him,
stone.
and lots of talk about him at the time, and sadly, it never came to fruition.
Yeah, it's a shame. Could have been a really good player. At 5, Matthew Screech as a player who's talked about a lot, but maybe not in the best of ways.
They'll go in, I suppose, ish.
Yeah. Have you decided what club he's playing for next season yet?
I think he's still at the Dragons, I think.
He's still at the Dragons. Right, okay. He's played 183 matches for the Dragons. Got a Wales cap, of course. What was that against? Who was that against?
2021, Argentina, I think.
Oh, it was, yeah. And we lost as well.
Because a certain Mr. Beard got called up to the Lions tour.
Of course, yeah. Oh, God. So it is Adam Beard's fault.
If you want to put it that way, then you can.
Probably the best back row the Dragons have ever had. So at 6, Aaron Wainwright.
Solid. Good.
So, yes, but Aaron Wainwright in this period wasn't at his best because he was being messed around by Piv. No, this was pre-World Cup, wasn't it?
This was 2019.
World Cup. Oh, yeah, he was ace.
Wales have just won a Grand Slam and Project Reset's kind of blown over.
Sorry, no, ignore what I was saying. Aaron Wainwright was about to have the tournament of his life.
The
World Cup. Yeah. It's the next game where he was in a bad form. Or being messed around, I should say. Yeah, Aaron Wainwright is in the form of his life here. Really, really good. Tame Basham at 7. Not a 7. Stop playing in there.
Solid, I suppose.
I like Tame Basham. Yeah, I think he's a character. He's a proper Newport boy. He's only 24.
Yeah. But it just seems that he might have one glaring error at any given time, and you just don't know when it's going to happen. It could happen like on Saturday, it could happen right at the end of the season, it could happen first URC game of this next year, but
his head goes a bit, doesn't it?
ID.
His head goes a bit, I think, when that happens. And then Ross Moriarty at 8. Didn't get a yellow card, as far as I know, in this game.
One of the future few that targeted Jack Walsh. And
we'll come on to that in a bit. But yeah, he played this game. Was good for the Dragons, really good. I know Jamie really misses him, and probably should, because they probably haven't replaced that grunt in the back row.
Yeah.
So we go on to one of the try scorers now, Rodri Williams, and his stupid hair.
The interception was rather good. And the fact that Tipbrook nearly caught up with him was even better-ish. But he did really well to finish it, actually.
31 Rodri Williams.
Yeah, he seems like every time I see him play, you think he should be in the first team for the Dragons. But then you kind of watched in black over the last couple of weeks, and you're like, that might be why. I think Rodri Williams might have an injury of some sorts, but yeah, solid player.
A Bristol player as well. Bristol. 50. He's played 53 games for Scarlets. People forget that. I think he started at the Scarlets, then went to Bristol, then came to Dragons. Yeah. So good player. Really like him. Really dependable, solid 9. Played 4 matches for Wales, 3 matches for Wales, I think. Yeah. So I think
yeah, solid.
The man who hates gym work.
And always popped up and played rather well. whenever a Welsh derby kind of rolled around.
Dependable, I think, is the
Yeah,
best way to say it. Really, really dependable.
solid.
Um, yeah, and that shows, I think, in his appearances. So 83 for the Dragons, 37 for Edinburgh, 30 for Cardiff. And you look at them, he didn't start really for Cardiff. He was coming off the bench a lot. Didn't start for Edinburgh, came off the bench a lot. But they started 75% of the time for the Dragons. So yeah, good player. Um, Great on the interview as well. Funny, good follow on Twitter. Then the next try scorer, Hallam Amos,
Yeah, this was before he joined the Cardiff,
pre Cardiff, yeah, pre
and
leaving rugby to be a doctor.
yeah, it's kind of well before his hat trick of disallowed tries against Uruguay, might I add, and
Shocking.
and kind of gets a bit of an easy one. This one I felt.
Yeah.
It's a little bit soft, but no, yeah, any good wingers there to pick it up and score, aren't they?
Now, a man who I have no memory of whatsoever. Do you remember who this man is at 12?
No, I'm confused how it's not Jack Dixon.
No, Jared Sage.
Jared Sage.
Exactly.
I
Played 29 games. I think he must have retired through injury because he didn't play a game after the season, in the 18-19 season. So played one game for the Kings and then moved to the Dragons.
from the K. Oh,
The Dragons went on loan to the Kings and then came back to the Dragons.
that's an interesting career path.
You really, yeah. Imagine
That
you've gone from Newport to Port Elizabeth back to Newport.
you can kind of now halfish start a seven side with players that have played for the Dragons and Southern Kings.
So yeah, he played. That didn't look quite good. Partnering him was Taylor Morgan.
Yeah, good
Yeah,
player.
legend. Quite like him, yeah. Played
Yeah.
every round of rugby for Biarritz this year. No, he didn't. He's missed a few. But good player, like him.
Yeah, I'm glad to see he's still playing in the wild second division of the French leagues.
Would never have had him, Jonathan Joseph, and Vincent Martin playing in the same team.
No, you wouldn't really, would you? Unless you were doing some niche career in rugby challenge.
That's some. I've simmed in Rugby Challenge too, and seen where
And you've
he's gone
somehow
wrong.
managed to get like an AI player called Tyler Morgan because he probably wouldn't have been on the
Yeah.
game then.
Jared Rosser, who would have been about 19 in this game, 26 now.
Yeah, very young
Yeah,
Jack Rosser.
Jared Rosser, 19 in this game.
This
Uh,
is this before? Oh no, this is after the one where he gets that vicious. Luke Morgan gets that vicious bounce and he just picks up and scores.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then Jordan Williams at fullback. Again, somehow only 30.
Yeah, it feels like he's been around for a long time, and
Obviously, famous for that match against New Zealand, the Baby Blacks in the under-20s World Cup with Sam Davis, Junior World Player of the Year at 10. Um, he's got his one cap for Wales, isn't he? In 2013-14 somehow. I will say I'm not a fan of Jordan Williams at all.
he scored that try last season, didn't he? With
He
a
did score a try last
bounce
season.
away from the Ospreys back line.
Yeah. Let's go quickly through the bench then. This is an interesting bench. Reece Lawrence at 16.
Big memory of him.
Vague memory. Josh Reynolds at 17, who I actually don't mind.
Yeah, he's okay. I'm pretty sure
He would have been young. He would have been like 18 in this game.
he still feels rather young now, but I think he's still going along in the Welsh Prem. I think scored against Pontypridd, I think, a couple
Yeah.
of months ago.
Played for Newport on the weekends, didn't he?
Yeah.
The Cornish Barrel, Lloyd Fairbrother.
The second person of the Jack Walsh assault thing.
Joe Davis at 19, a solid regional player.
Yeah, I'm not his biggest fan, if I'm being brutally honest. But if you've made 100 appearances for a region, then you're
A
doing
man
something.
who I have no memory of, Lennon Gregaines.
I've heard of him. He's played for Newport a bit in the Welsh Prem, and I think somewhere else as
Right.
well. Yeah, solid. Never kind of made it at regional level, but solid.
And then, quite frankly, a hateful duo of Tavis Noyle and Josh Lewis.
Tavis Knowles still knocking around your Seven Sisters this season.
Yes, yeah.
And
Josh Lewis was rumoured to be coming to us last year.
joined Merthyr instead. And
Said, and will not be playing in the EDC. And then former Osprey Dav Howells, again, is somehow only 29 years old.
he's been around the clubs. I'm pretty sure he's playing for Neath earlier on in the season as well.
Yeah, awful injury. Played for Abercrave as well, I believe.
Yeah.
Awful injury problems. Really talented player that obviously held the record at one point for fastest try ever against Fiji under-20s. So let's very quickly go through the Osprey squad, then we won't comment on many of them apart from the obvious one. So Nicky Smith, Scott Baldwin, Tom Boter, fine, good front row. Adam Beard, Bradley Davis, yeah. Adam Beard would have been form of his life at this point.
No,
he was Gatland's one of Gatland's favourites.
yeah, it wouldn't be in form of his life, but
he's in his unbeaten streak at this point. He's in his Undertaker era.
He's just come back of him off the back of a Six Nations Grand Slam where the other second row got injured against Ireland.
Ollie Cracknell, James King, and Justin Tipperick.
Yeah, James King is always solid as ever. Probably pinched the line out of 3 in this game as well, but
yeah. Face charge down King, Adelaide Davis, and I got kicked by a sheep. No, I kicked by a cow and got stuck in my track to Luke Price. Played for Abercrave on the weekend as well.
Scored on the weekend as well.
Good, he did score. Yeah, you are right. Wingers of Dirksen and Giles, great.
Good.
And Corey Allen, obviously future Dragon.
Yeah, solid centre pair. Did Corey Allen even play for the Dragons? I know he obviously joined the Dragons. Did he make an appearance or did he never make it in terms of fitness?
I don't think he did.
I'm pretty sure he's one of those that joined but didn't play.
Yeah, never played.
No, his last game of rugby's nearly 5 years ago. That is scary.
Was this game, I think.
No, it's the game.
Sorry, it was the season after.
Yeah, it's the game against Ulster where he gets injured after about half an hour.
And then, of course, fullback, the greatest regional player to only ever get one cap is Daniel Evans.
Yeah, it kind of felt like he was not out of form, but he kind of felt like he missed his chance for Welsh selection. And all of a sudden, he went on this mental scoring run where he scored something like 8 tries or something in 3 games because we had the South Africa tour right next to it. And he scored a hat-trick against the Kings.
We signed him on the back of a season where he made 21 appearances and scored 3 tries for the Dragons.
Right. And then a couple of seasons later, he's scoring 6 tries in 3 Champions Cup.
And then, yeah, he's just gone mental. You know, obviously, 18. The season before, he scored 10 tries in a year. Just unreal player. He had the hips, he had the pace, he had the nous to cut them angles and things. He was just so good.
Yeah, this was obviously before he kicked Teddy Thomas in the head as well.
I remember. I was getting a hot dog.
I was in a concert somewhere and I had to miss the game.
Really?
I was some sort. Yes, he was actually stood next to me or the next person across. Yeah, he was there.
Scott Otten, Jordan Leigh, Matt Fufia.
Jordan Leigh, yes.
Yeah. Still going. Still somehow playing for the Blues.
I still really want him to be like a short-term signing next season, just to play another game, just to add it to that tally.
Somehow has 5 Ospreys caps.
One of them was against Ulster in the game that ended 8-0 in Bridgend as well. That's such a weird one.
Lloyd Ashley at lock, good player. Sam Cross, who got released by Newcastle today.
Solid and really unfortunate news at the same time.
Yeah, he was really good for Newcastle this year, struggling Newcastle this year as well.
Yeah, reading up on a few supporters' comments earlier, and they seem to have really liked him up there. So, yeah, good for him.
Matthew Albury, Sam Davis, and Luke Morgan. Yeah, it's pretty standard for the time.
Yeah, Sam Davis coming off the bench at this period of time, and made
Shame.
a made the hat trick try, I think, with the
So then that brings us to the most recent Swansea.com based Ospreys Dragons game,
oh, this is
which,
last
fin-
season.
which,
Oh,
which finished 37-18.
this is pre-Saracens. This is before Ethan Roots' mental game.
So the 25th of March 2023. I remember it was a very sunny day.
I was watching Pontypridd against Newport in Bridgend in the Welsh Premiership Cup semi-final.
And after the game, it was what we now know is Alan Jones' last home game for the Ospreys.
Well, not officially, because the leavers list from last season hasn't been announced.
True. Still on the books at the Ospreys. But it was his
Bring
last
back
game,
Michael Collins.
last home game for the Ospreys. Him and Michael Collins, in which he had a stormer. Actually, he rolled back the years this game, offloads, darted up the wing. So let's start with the Dragons again. So we had Roger Jones, Elliot D, and Lloyd Fairbrother. Roger
Yeah,
Jones had a torrid time this game.
he seemed quite good last week, actually, when watching the Dragons.
For some reason, whenever he plays us, apart from this game, he turns into like Tony Woodcock. Like he's just, he's a good player. Like he's a really unsung hero.
Yeah, he's played quite a lot of professional rugby, so he must be doing something right.
No, he's got 24 Wales caps, played 83 times for the Ospreys, 38 for the Scarlets, 30 for the Dragons. So guy's been around the block. Played a lot of regional rugby. Elliot D was in good form at this point. Was probably being looked at for that summer squad. Come back from injury, I believe.
Yeah, just came back from injury here.
Yes, would have come back from injury. Yeah, the week before he came back from injury, missed quite a few games, but was still good. He's still he's still Elliot D. In that regard. And then Lloyd Fairbrother, who should have got yellow carded this game, but didn't. So he started.
He's the
physical abuse on Jack Walsh. So for those who don't know, what transpired was that Di Flanagan had said to his team to go out and basically let Jack Walsh know that he's the young 10 that needed pressure. And Dragons players took that, let's go kill Jack Walsh. So he got about the 20th odd minute, Jack Walsh gets hit off the ball by Lloyd Fairbrother. Leads to a penalty in which I believe he kicks. So then we move into the second row, Lonsdale and George Knott.
Good, yeah.
Solid regional really second. Solid. When they're playing second rows, they're very good. Ross Moriarty, Harry Keddy, and Ollie Griffiths. Great back row.
Good back row, but not as good as the last one we just looked at.
I agree. Ross Moriarty got yellow. So the best bit, I was at the stadium, so I wasn't listening to comms or anything. So I had to watch this game back. And on the Premier Sports or Viaplay, whatever it was, Tom Shanklin was on commentary with whoever it was. I think Reece A.P. Williams. And you get to the scrum in which he leaves his yellow card, and Tom Shanklin is talking him up, saying that Ross Moriarty is exactly what Wales need this season, this summer. Big physical ball carrier, not compromising, blah, blah, blah. And then he literally goes and gives away the most heinous yellow card I've ever seen. Probably, give or take a few inches, could have been a red. So, and it was just the most poetic timing ever. So he did not have his best game, so to say. So we move into the back. So Roger Williams again and Will Reid.
I do like Will Reid.
I like Will Reid. I like Will Reid. Been earmarked by Gatland as well, which is always good. Ashton Hewitt on the one wing. My granddad's least favourite player, believe it or not, because he injured Keelan Giles.
I don't know if Ashton Hewitt really meant it, but still good player.
Tackle. Good player, yeah, I agree. Good bloke as well. Just really, really good egg.
It's just that really unfortunate incident, isn't it?
Yeah. Steph Hughes, good player. Like him with the Dragons. Seo Tompkinson, who I like Seo Tompkinson, right?
I was a big fan. Yeah,
one of the worst red cards I've ever seen in my life.
I was a big fan of Tompkinson of the Highlanders. I remember during COVID when they just started writing, and I was saying, "Oh, that person's really good." Then you see that he's joined the Dragons, and like my jaw just dropped everywhere, thinking, "Oh my word, this is going to change the way that Welsh rugby is going to be." Because when you watch Super Rugby and you think, "Oh, he's really good," and they come to Wales and you're thinking, "Right, he's going to do something." But it wasn't the impact I really had in mind that he was going to nearly take Jack Walsh's head off. But yeah, and he's leaving at the end of the season as well. So it didn't really work out for Tomkinson.
Um, yeah, he's just a good guy. Like him a lot. But it was one of the worst things, and I said it when it happened as well. That I was like, oh my god, yeah, that's a red, that's a red. Jordan Williams on one wing, who got quite an easy try for the bounce, is just sort of bounced up into his hand, and then Angus O'Brien at fullback, who I quite like. I'm
I like
glad he's
Angus
re-signed with
Pride
the
as well.
Dragons as well.
Yeah, good player.
Horrible injury luck. Then we get to Bradley Roberts on the bench. Not really worked out Bradley Roberts. A fine player.
I remember when he got called up to Wales, and then the week after he had to play for Ulster in Swansea, and
Yeah,
he didn't have the best of afternoons then, actually. But
yeah, in that horrible game, wasn't it?
well, wasn't that horrible? The Ospreys won, but
No, but it was a horrible game to watch. Like it was just
yeah, Luke Morgan takes a high ball in about 4 minutes to go, and that was like the highlight of the match.
Dooley and Chris Coleman. Yeah, not great.
They're okay.
Paul Taylor, he was all right, wasn't he?
Yeah, one of those that you kind of
Where's Hugh Taylor now?
didn't
Do
he
you
go back?
remember?
Didn't he go up north? Or have I just made that up?
North America,
Oh, is he?
Seattle Seawolves, baby.
Give that man a star. That's it. I thought
He
I just
was at
assumed.
he was at Bedford Blues though, so yeah, he did go sort of up north.
I thought I just assumed he was like he's the type of person that strikes me would go up to RGC for you, then just like put
Yeah, then become like a quantity surveyor or something. Aaron Wainwright came off the bench. He came on quite early, if I
yeah,
remember. 36 minutes. Yeah, 36 minutes he came on.
because I think it might have been Griffiths
Ollie
actually.
Griffiths got injured. Yeah, I believe we scored. Yeah, so he came on. His first involvement was watching Dan Lydiate go over for his try.
Oh, well, that's not the impact he had in mind.
Yeah. Aaron Wainwright, Tame Basham. There's a 6-2 split.
Posh.
Tame Basham, wearing 21. Lewis Jones, and then Max Clark, another one who didn't really work out for, did it? Which
No,
I actually quite liked Max Clark at Bath.
he's bleached his hair and joined Cardiff, so yeah, make of that what you will.
Watching these players succumb to this. So the Osprey squad isn't too dissimilar to what you'd see in an Osprey squad now, to be honest. Apart from one player who I will cry at.
There's
Nick,
probably a few changes to this one because there's a massive
yeah,
link him around the corner.
some big Boothie influence came in from 2019 onwards. So Nicky Smith, Sam Parry, Tom Boter.
Just realised this is a game where the second row test line doesn't play in. How
Yeah,
have we managed that?
yeah. So good front row, standing front row
Yeah,
at the time.
solid.
Nicky Smith scoring the opening try.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I think both last season and the season before, Nicky Smith scores the first Ospreys try of the match. It's so weird. I don't know how it works.
so he started this game obviously in the absence of um,
Beard and
Colin
Reese.
Roberts. Well, we were in our bomb squad phase at this point.
Oh yeah, yes.
So we'll come on to that in a minute. So he partnered Alan Jones obviously in his last game.
Sutton was really good this game as well.
And a back row of Dan Lydiate, who obviously scored, who doesn't score. Ethan Roots. I miss you, Ethan. Come home, please. We miss you. We forgot to mention that in the news earlier. We're playing Exeter in pre-season. There we are.
Yeah, so James has got a plotting plan to take back Ethan Roots.
I will.
He'll probably set up a GoFundMe page in the future for donations
For my bail.
for any following court cases that might appear. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're all going to exit the season routes probably.
Logan Morris scored because, of course, he did. He scored in pretty much all of these games. Ruben Morgan Williams. Then obviously Jack Walsh, who obviously then had to go off at 43 minutes because he got killed. Luke Morgan on one wing. Kieran Williams, who went over for the last Ospreys try.
Good try.
Owen Watkin. Yeah, good try. Derry let carry. Bounced one and then got the offload in.
Yeah.
Owen Watkin, George North, and Justin Hopkins. Justin Hopkins scoring and then immediately pulling up a cramp because he's an Osprey, of course he did. Now, very late Gareth Thomas, Ben Warren, so we're in our bomb squad phase here. Obviously, Tom Francis.
I think Lake had just come back from injury for this.
He had, yeah. Ruth Davis. Harry Deves Small. Do you know he has a double barrel surname?
No, I didn't.
His name is Harry Deves Small. Harry Llewellyn Deves Small.
That's something to know.
Quite, isn't it?
Yeah.
Luke Scully. So Matthew Aubrey and Luke Scully. Luke Scully, who if I remember rightly, nailed a beautiful touchline conversion.
Yeah, it's right next to the east stand as well.
East stand in the right hand corner as well where you sit. And it was a beautiful touchline conversion. And then Michael Collins, who officially hasn't left the Ospreys. I'm sorry, he hasn't.
Despite ripping it up in Japan, he has not left the Ospreys.
Not left the Ospreys. Follows us on Twitter. Hi, Michael.
Liked your tweet the other day as well.
He does. He likes a lot of my tweets. Big Michael fan. So that was 2 Ospreys v Dragons games at the Swans.com Stadium. I don't really have much to say about the weekend. I don't know about you.
Just going to be interesting to see the reaction, because if there is one, it could be very interesting to see what does happen. If the Ospreys kind of go back into their own shell after a couple of disappointing results, or do they just go full guns blazing and take it out on the Dragons, which should be rather harsh on the Dragons, but it could be that real confidence boost that they need to end the season. Where last season we didn't really get that, when after the Sarries game, you went up to Edinburgh, didn't play very well and lost, and then didn't play very well and lost to Cardiff. So you kind of hope there's some sort of reaction then. I think Osprey supporters will probably want a little bit of reaction, because it's not nice conceding 120 points in 2 games, especially off the back of a Stormers win, which kind of put us right back in the mix. But it's one of those, if there is a reaction, then good. If there's not and it goes wrong, then you kind of like, oh well, the top 8 wasn't really realistic. But if you win, you're kind of like, oh, the top 8 might be small glimmer of hope, chance back on.
Yeah, I just think the ultimate thing is we have to win. I just want the win first rather than the bonus point. I'd rather finish the season with 10 wins, finished with was it a 10-8 record. With 3 wins in Europe. 3 wins in Europe. I'd take that. I'll take 13 wins in the season.
I think that's probably the best URC record as well, as in the URC since its inception for our lot.
Yeah, for our lot. Yeah, I just the win. Ben Breakspear is in the middle for his second URC game. Made his debut against Edinburgh versus Zebra. Good to see a young Welsh referee. He obviously was. Sorry, not him. We also had a debutant, I believe. Was it Adam Jones?
It was Adam Jones made his debut against our lot.
For Ospreys Scarlets.
Was it first game after COVID, or was it a Welsh derby?
No, who was it this season? We had one.
It was
Ospreys Scarlets.
Was it Steph Phillips that did Ospreys Scarlets?
Very good. That's all I remember. He was quite good in that Ospreys. In the Daniel Gassendi game.
He told Nicky Smith to he asked Nicky Smith about if he was having Sunday dinner, because Nicky Smith complained of a reset scrum.
Yeah, they're taking too long. He did actually. It clearly got into his head because they pinked Kieran Hardy for taking too long at a line out, which was quite funny. So yeah, I don't think there's much more to talk about really.
Just be interesting to see what kind of selection as well, because there was a bit of change after the Stormers win, which was rather emotional. Obviously, the changing room is.
I think we'll see Jack Morgan start. and I think
Yeah,
we'll see
it
Derby Link starts.
wasn't really a good place according to Toby Booth after the Leinster game, which is admittedly so. So it'd be interesting to see what he does. Will Deves come in? Will Joe
Yeah,
start? It's really interesting.
hopefully we're nearing a return offender as well.
There was
Would
a
love
Wheels Online article by
an article
Ben
by Ben
James
James. Yes,
is saying they might be back for Judgment Day, which is very
yeah,
exciting for Osprey supporters.
very very exciting. So I think that's it. I am suspending more and more into darkness because I can't be asked to put my light on. You can find us on all the regular podcast platforms. You can find me at Ospreys Eyrie on X. You can also follow me at James Reese 8. On my normal socials, you can follow Yes_Thomas21. You can follow Robbie, even though he's not here, at Squidge Rugby and at Squidgy Goat. Check out his scrum video, it is excellent. What a video. As a front row myself, it was great to see. No other news. We'll be back next week, hopefully with a full side to review the Dragons game. And there's no game the week after, is there?
Can we talk about Leinster against Toulouse or something? Or was that out of
I
bounds?
do, but we might just have to do a bump for good player episode.
Well, how many games have we got? That's the question.
I can go and find a really obscure one again, like the Ospreys Dragons LV Cup on the other week.
Something like the Ospreys Cardiff game, the Anglo Welsh Cup from 2018 or something like that. Where Gareth Anscombe
Yeah,
from injury.
we'll find something. I could bring out my breaking case of emergency one, which I will reveal to you on the group chat when I go and get the program. But we will have a look anyway. But we will be back next week. Give us a follow, and we shall see you soon. Goodbye.